All right. Welcome back to another Coffee with Cobb. Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Christian Bakehout. I'll be your moderator for today. And today's going to be 30 minutes of some do-it-yourself tech tips. We'll be talking about some do-it-yourself tech support. You'll be discussing how to make your call to any help desk the best experience it can be. And we'll give you some tips and some tools to kind of help you along the way. But before we get to that, we're going to introduce today's presenters. Today we have Jeff Blunt. He's our VCIO for all of our MITS customers. That's managed IT service customers. And he has 10 years of industry experience. And he has an education in business management with experience in technologies as well. And Jeff Bolton, who is new to Coffee with Cobb. He is our network administrator for Cobb and our MITS customers, and he has been with Cobb since 2008, and he's a part of the MITS team since 2012. And so to start us off, Jeff, can you help our audience understand what we mean when we mention help desk?
Sure, thanks, Christian. So when we talk about the help desk, it's essentially a group of individuals that are there for you to reach out to when you need help with your technology. If you're having some trouble or have questions, you can reach out to them. You could have an internal help desk. If you're in a large organization or a national organization, you may have your own fellow employees could be part of your help desk. Or you could outsource your help desk to a third party group. Regardless of whichever way that you outsource your help desk or have an internal one, the way that you contact or connect with that help desk should be about the same. I want to move on a little bit and talk about different ways that you can contact the help desk and some expectations when contacting the help desk. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you could contact a help desk. Email could be one way that you do it. You most likely have an email address that you could submit requests and tickets to. You could chat with them if you're so inclined to do that. I'm sure you have a phone number that you can call somebody and reach out to. You may even have an application or a little service running on your computer where you can go to an online portal and submit a ticket that way. But it's important to remember most of the time there's different response times depending on the way that you contact the help desk. If you have an immediate issue, I would certainly suggest picking up the phone and calling. Hopefully you're able to get a technician on the phone that's able to help you right then with what your trouble is. Or maybe chat would be a great way to get some immediate help. Whereas if you just have a request, maybe a new employee starting next week or something along those lines, something like an email or submitting a ticket through an online portal would be sufficient. You wouldn't get as fast of a response time, but that's a good way for you to get a trouble ticket started there.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And a question for our other Jeff here. What information should an end user have ready before they make the call to a help desk?
Good question, Christian. Thank you. I'm kind of going to go over that all the way through the process of what goes on when a ticket gets created and our initial troubleshooting steps and some of the tools that we like to use to do that. So when you're calling in before you call in, try to think of some basic information that's going to help us, identify your problem and get you into our system. As basic as your name and your email address, your telephone number. If you work at a branch location, if your company has many locations, which branch you on, which area of the building are you in, etc. If you have a copier or a computer that you're having problems with, try to gather, the equipment ID or the serial number so we can identify it in our system and get you help quicker. Think about how long you've been having problems. Has it been just today, or has it been a couple weeks and you haven't said anything about it? Has there been any recent hardware or software changes to your computer that could potentially explain the problem? These are all things we're going to ask you anyways, so if you could have them ready ahead of time, that makes it even quicker. So we're going to ask you what your availability for a callback is, what your best contact method is. So if we can't address the issue immediately, we're not running around in circles trying to track you down. So with that out of the way, in terms of initial troubleshooting steps, there's some things you could do that might even solve your problem without having to call IT. So for example, rebooting your computer. Sounds basic, but it's basic for a reason. If anybody's seen the television program called The IT Crowd, there's a running joke throughout the series. Have you tried turning it off and on again? And that's a joke because it rings true. So a lot of the times, if you're having an issue, we're going to ask you to reboot your computer first because a lot of the times can magically solve your problems. If that doesn't work though, we're probably going to start focusing on things like your connections between your peripherals, from your computer to your monitor, your keyboard and mouse, or your printer, etc. These things can come loose or might need to be reseated. One of my oldest anecdotes from my college days involves a classroom full of students, with their MIT trained professor. We lost our internet connection, the servers were rebooted, got down into the real nitty-gritty stuff, and all that happened was somebody had leaned their chair back and knocked the network cable out of the wall. So keep it simple. There's been 2 cases in the last month at 2 different clients that we support where I've had something exactly like that happen, where a vendor went in and accidentally knocked a cable loose, and I had to go in there and literally just snap the cable back in. That's all it was. So look at little things like that that can really make the difference. And don't forget to put a ticket in. I know we've kind of talked about putting the ticket in, but if you flag your IT guy down or just send them an email or say something, hey, I've been having a problem with this, those things tend to get lost in the shuffle or forgotten, or somebody might not be there, and they might be on vacation, and then it's just going to go unanswered. So try to put a ticket in and try to be as descriptive as possible. And after the ticket's in, don't be afraid to be the technician's eyes and ears, because in most cases, we're not going to be on site and we're not going to be able to help you physically, at least at first. So if you are willing to help us with those things, it could save us some time, and it might avoid having to roll a technician out on site, spend money on that, spend extra time troubleshooting, etc. At the tech level, behind the scenes, when you place that ticket, as long as you gathered all that information that we talked about a minute ago, we're going to put that into a ticket, create a new ticket. We're going to confirm who you are, what location you're at, what computer you're using. We're going to take some notes and maybe look at any other notes that are already in there about initial troubleshooting steps that were taken. We're going to look at your network documentation to see if the layout of your building could explain, your issue depending on what it is. And lastly, we're going to schedule it or assign it to a technician who will get an alert on it, and they'll begin working on it as soon as they can, or contact you if it's not immediate. So when it comes to getting that support after the ticket is in, there's a couple things we like to touch on, especially in this day and age with a lot of people working from home. We're gonna always try to solve your problem remotely first, and most shops have a way to remotely connect to a computer, and it's basically like you're sitting in front of the computer, but we're at our desk in our office or at home. So with that being said, if we're working on your computer, you can't work on your computer at the same time. And I know that might be a little frustrating, but we've run into that problem before where people just don't understand that that's what us controlling the computer means, and they try to check their email or something, but that just slows everything down. So as long as you have some time for us to work on your computer, just kick back and drink some coffee and let us do our thing. If that doesn't work, we can't resolve it that way, and a technician does need to come on site. And when it comes to your workspace, we're probably going to need to be in your workspace, on your desk, under your desk, moving things around, unplugging stuff. So the less clutter you can make your workspace before we get there, it just saves anything from getting lost or misplaced, and cuts down on the amount of time we have to work on it, and just makes everybody happier faster. And similarly, just remember, when the tech comes on site, they are going to need that time on your computer. Everybody has lots of work to do, that goes without saying, but just try to allow some time in your day for the technician to complete their tasks, as that'll get everybody back to work quickest. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So I have another question here. So what are some common do-it-yourself tools that an end user can use to provide a solution for themselves to any possible issue that they're having with their computer devices or network?
Thanks, Christian. I'll start this conversation off with just a little bit of a disclaimer. Some of these tools that we're going to be talking about, that Jeff's going to be talking about here in a minute, the license agreement with those, there's a personal use and then there's a business use. The personal use is normally a little bit limited functionality with the software, but it is free to use. The business use, most of the time there's a small fee to be able to use the software, but you do get the full suite and the full features. But just be aware whenever if you are using some of these, just want to be sure that you read the license agreement there and make sure you know what you're agreeing to. That being said, I'll turn it back to Jeff and he can run through some of these tools here.
Thanks, Jeff. So just want to start by saying, I mean, this is really, we're going to start talking about some third-party tools that aren't included with Windows and then go into some stuff that is included with Windows, but it's by no means fully comprehensive. Just in the limited time we have, we're just going to talk about some of the things we use the most often that are the most helpful, but every technician has their own toolbox with their own things that they like to use, but this is just an example of what we like. So we're going to start with a program called Tree Size Free. We use this a lot. Back in the day, we would have people call in saying, my hard drive's full, or you're less than 10% free space on your hard drive, and it turns red. So we need to find out where all that space is being taken up. It's really hard to know where to start. Most people have thousands of folders on there. It's like a needle in a haystack. So you run this program, it scans through all your folders, it tells you which ones are the largest. You can pull reports. It just gives you a good graphical representation of where your space is being taken up. So, we use it for workstations or for servers, and it saved us a lot of time finding problematic large folders. So even if you aren't low on space, it's also a great tool to have just to keep an eye on your folders. The next one we're going to go over is called Advanced IP Scanner. So IP scanners are common. There's a million of them out there. This is just the one that we like. So basically an IP scanner is just a program that's going to scan your network for any connected network devices, and it's going to give you their IP address information, and in most cases probably their MAC address, which is their hardware information, and manufacturer. So it's great for troubleshooting because it helps us discover details about your network that most average users probably wouldn't know. And if there's devices like printers or wireless access points or even security cameras that are on the network, we probably otherwise wouldn't know what they were, especially remotely. So that's just going to help us track down a lot of those details and use that information as we go forward. Third is a program called the Belark Advisor. So this basically will tell you every single detail about your computer that you could probably ever want to know. Things that most people probably wouldn't know off the top of their head. So if there's any little bit of information that we're looking for, we can run this program and we're going to find out about your computer's manufacturer, its model info, which operating system you have, what the hardware in there looks like, if you have any printers and network drives connected, what programs are installed, what software licenses are there, and so on and so forth. So again, if there's anything that we need to find out, it's going to help us fill in the blanks. So again, just a little snapshot there of some third-party tools, but now we're going to move into some command line tools that come with Windows that we're going to use to figure out, what's going on with your computer. So at the most basic level, we have ping, which is just a little utility that lets a computer test its connectivity to another computer or out to the internet. So we use this to be able to tell if it can communicate with anything else. It'll give us a response or a failure. So in the example that's up on the screen, the first we see ping 8.8.8.8. That is a Google server, and you can see that it responded 4 times. Whereas the next time I tried it, I just made up an IP address and it timed out. So you can see, if you know an IP address and you're trying to communicate with it, if you get a response back, then you at least are able to talk to that. So it can kind of really help you get started on your troubleshooting and where to focus your attention. And kind of hand in hand with ping is another utility called ipconfig. And Again, one of the most basic things we use. It's built into all versions of Windows, but it'll tell us your IP address information, your network configuration, and again, looking at the example, you can see where I've highlighted the IP address, the subnet mask, the default gateway, the DHCP server. Those are all things that most of the time, anytime we're getting started troubleshooting, especially with a network issue, we're going to look here first to try to find that out. We're going to take that information, we're going to go back to ping, and we're going to start our troubleshooting. Tied in with IP config, there's a couple of extra features, such as we can release and renew the IP address or the DNS information. So if you're having problems accessing a web page, but you can still browse your network, we might think it's a DNS problem. So we're going to flush out that DNS information remotely and see if we can get things working again. Yeah, that information can just become stale and need to be updated. So moving past the command line, though, we're going to talk about services for a minute. So services are just little programs that run behind the scenes in your computer that take care of tasks. Usually they're set to start when your computer starts up and you don't have to think about them at all. But a good example of a service would be for like when you print something, your computer just sends it to the printer, you don't think about it, but there's actually a spooler in the back. It's called the print spooler. It's a service that runs in the background and it handles those print jobs, and once you hit print, it just takes care of it for you. But a lot of the times when people have problems with printing, the first thing we'll do is go check out their print spooler, and a lot of the times it's stopped or failed or crashed or whatever. So restarting the print spooler a lot of the times will make printing work again. So that's just a basic example, but when we start troubleshooting, a lot of the times we'll go look at those services, we'll see what's supposed to be running that's not, and vice versa, and you know, that'll oftentimes tell us where the problem is, or at least give us a good idea. Another built-in Windows tool that we like to use is just the basic task manager. Everybody may have seen this at some point or another, but it gives you all of your hardware information, like your CPU speed, your memory speed and utilization, how much your hard drive is spinning and how much that's affecting your performance, what utilities and services and processes are running, who's logged into the computer. If your web browser crashes and you can't do anything, you can go into your task manager and kill it that way without having to reboot your whole computer. So again, I feel like a broken record saying this, but when we're starting our troubleshooting, that's one of the places that we're going to look to kind of just start gathering information to see if something's looks amiss and kind of give us an idea of where to start. And not built into Windows, but another valuable tool that we all know and love is Google.com. So, you know, if you're having a problem, just Google it. A lot of basic problems have readily available solutions on Google, and from experience, a lot of IT professionals have Google to thank for a lot of solved problems. Because chances are, if you've had the problem, somebody else has had the problem, and a lot of those people have probably gone on a forum and talked about it, making all of our lives easier. But it is kind of a double-edged sword. There's a lot of great information out there, but you can also accidentally cause some damage with it. So I'm going to kick it back over to Jeff Blunt to talk about that a little bit.
Thanks, Jeff. As Jeff was talking about, you know, Google is one of those great tools that you can use to really help get yourself some help there. But as Jeff said, it can get you into some trouble too. So definitely do suggest that you use Google, but just kind of be wary of that and know how far to take that. Some other ways you can definitely get yourself into trouble. There's something in Windows called the registry. It's essentially a database of settings of your computer. There's no real safety net within the registry, so I would definitely try to stay away from that. You could pretty quickly and easily turn your computer into just a paperweight. So definitely, if you are on Google and somebody says go into registry and start to make some changes, I would stop there and reach out to your help desk support before making those changes. I would also stay away from just randomly uninstalling programs. You know, you may unintentionally uninstall an antivirus program or maybe a monitoring program that your IT support has put out there to help keep your computer secure or help get remotely connected to you. If you do have questions about what a program is, definitely reach out to the help desk. Maybe shoot them that email, you know, and wait for a response there. But there's some ways that you can get yourself in trouble, but a lot of things that you can do that Jeff mentioned that'll help speed up the process and help make your experience with whatever issue you're having the best it can be. So that's pretty much all we had to say. Hopefully you gained some tips and tricks to go through there. If you have any questions for us, feel free to post those over in the Q&A. We'll get to those in just a minute. I'll turn it back over to Christian and he'll talk about what's happening in Coffee with Cobb for next week.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So for any of you who may have joined us a little late, this video will be made available on our website, cobbtechnologies.com, in a short amount of time. We usually, after we end it, we'll upload it back up to our website. If you go to the Coffee with Cobb tab, we usually have everything archived on our website, so it's always readily available. You can always go back and watch that if you missed any information on this webinar. Also, we have some blogs that have some corresponding information and data in with those that we have on our blogs tab on cobbtechnologies.com that you can also go back and read those as well. And next week, on next Thursday, the 30th, we have another Coffee with Cobb, and that's titled The Power of Print Embellishments. And we'll have two brand new presenters with us. That's David DiGiacomo and Travis Brigham, and they'll be discussing some more advanced printing techniques and options that are out there for any businesses looking for that. And so with all that said, we've come to the Q&A section. And I believe we have a couple here. The first one is asking if there is a document with the links to the third-party tools that we mentioned and how to do the Windows command line tools.
Yeah, I could take that one.
Sure.
I don't have a document prepared already, but I mean, I could easily get all that information compiled, and we could. I'm sure we could get that up on the website for anybody to access. So that's very. I can definitely take care of that.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be our marketing team will be sending out links along with the link to the video as well once that's made available. So that'll all be available on our website. And we have another question asking, how far should they take a do-it-yourself before calling for help?
I'll answer that one there, Christian. You know, sure. I think that really depends on how comfortable you are with tech support, you know, and how technically savvy you are. It's a common term that we use. If you're pretty comfortable and you feel like you know what you're doing, you know, I'd say go ahead and go for it. Like Jeff was saying, some of those cables, they can only go into one place in the computer. You're not really going to hurt yourself. Some of those third-party tools like the IP scanner and tree size free, you can't really hurt your computer by running those and trying to figure out what's going on. Right. Whereas, you know, like I said, something with the registry or uninstalling programs or, you know, running other commands that are going to automatically do something, you can quickly get yourself in trouble with those. So if you want to run those simple third-party programs, I say go ahead and go for it. But if you can't really figure out what's going on with that, then definitely give a call to the professionals.
All right. Sounds good. And we have, let's see, one last question here. So can you suggest any antivirus software that's out there in the market right now?
Yeah, good question. There's a lot of antivirus programs out there. Everybody knows Norton and McAfee. There's also some free ones like Avira and Avast, AVG. Seen them all over the years. Used a lot of them myself. One thing that has come a long way over the last several years is actually the built-in Windows Defender antivirus that comes with your computer. I'd say if you don't already have a licensed antivirus software that you're using through your IT company or that you've paid for a subscription, Windows Defender is probably going to be just as good, if not better, than any of the other third-party antiviruses that you use these days, and you're not going to get any of the pop-ups and the advertisements and asking you to pay money for it and stuff like that. So I haven't seen any reason not to suggest Windows Defender. It's a great antivirus, and it comes built into your operating system, so you don't even really have to do anything.
All right. Very good answer. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for joining us this time at our Coffee with Cobb. Other Jeff, it was good seeing you again. Guess which one I'm talking to. For anyone else who has any further questions, who may have caught us a little late in this webinar, or if you have any questions that you can't think of until after you've watched everything, please reach us back here at coffee@cobbtechnologies.com, and we'll get you in contact with either Jeff, myself, or anyone else on the managed services team, and we'll get those answered and taken care of for you. All right.